Oh, it's good to see everybody. We're kind of getting into the swing of things, no pun intended, but we just got back from our first event, spring event in Puerto Rico. We actually had a match before then in San Diego where we played USC, really good program. It was a runner-up last year in the national championship and played really well against them, won 4-2. Then we went to Puerto Rico and were there for seemed like almost a full week, but got some good reps in because the weather had been pretty rough here, but allowed us to kind of get going. We finished fourth. I think we maybe took the lead going into the back nine final round, and then didn't quite finish the way we wanted to. Had a fourth place finish, pretty much an all SEC finish, seemed like. And then we're in the middle of qualifying right now, getting ready to go to Orlando to a new tournament for the program called the Moon Invitational. That'll be probably one of the best fields that we see this spring.
Cece, you want to start the question?
So where you gals at right now compared to like last year at this time? So you've had this situation now where you've had a lot of success a couple of years, and so I know you expect that. So where are you guys at in comparison?
It's a great question because maybe to our expectations, not quite playing as well as we want to. I think collectively this is the hardest schedule I've ever had as a head coach. From beginning in the fall all the way through the spring. So, maybe we're not collecting wins, but we're getting some good wins throughout the week up to this point. So, I'd like to be a little bit better. I mean, we were competing this past week, so it gives me peace knowing that. But also, we just look rusty too. We haven't quite. And we haven't had a full week of practice. We've had, in the days that we've been able to play, this will be the 8th qualifying round we've played since we're at the beginning of the school, and you take, being gone to Puerto Rico for another week. So it'd just be nice to string some good reps together where we can work on some things that we need to clean up the rounds that we have played.
Isn't that a good and bad thing? Because I
Yeah.
think what you're saying is when the scores come in, I go, wow, they only finished fourth.
Yep.
I mean, because I think the expectation is.
Yeah, I think Puerto Rico is a tournament I think everybody felt like we should have won. We had Blanca had a phenomenal week. Adela had a good week, and then everybody else didn't quite have the best 54 holes that they possibly could have. Maybe we had a good individual round, but for whatever reason, we haven't put it all together yet. Once we do, we will be just fine. And I'd much rather that happen in April and May if I could pick, than September or February. But our competitive expectations, we felt like that one slipped away a little bit because it was in our control. So those are things that we're trying to clean up now.
With such a veteran lineup you have, I mean, how much do you think that experience will help down the stretch and kind of get you going and help the new ones along as well?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're expecting a little bit. It's just I think we're a little bit of victims of our own success too. It's the schedule is harder. We've Kata, freshman. She has not played up to her expectations, and that's the number 2 player in the world. And we're trying to help her manage that. Jenny's been solid. Zoe is starting to look better. But Adela and Blanca have been probably our best players, you'd probably say, up to this point. But we have a lot of experience, in that locker room. So I'm not worried about it in a way. I would like for them to see a little bit of success so they know it's still there. It's maybe we're trying a little bit too hard in some situations instead of just doing the easy thing. But I'm excited for this week. The more times that we can just kind of give them the next opportunity, I think we'll get over the hump.
Yeah, are there like tweaks that you have to make, or is it just like you want to get them back out there to play?
It's more, what we've been trying to do is it's human nature of you just want to practice the things that you're good at. So we're trying to get them to really do some things that are hard or maybe not quite out of their comfort zone. And it's not making changes, but just, as I was saying, we need some more practices that we can start to get some of this rust off. And, normally where that rust is with your scoring clubs. For those golfers, it's a putter, it's a wedge where we're not quite gaining the shots that we need to really get us up there into a win, a team win.
What do you think
kind of going to be key for you guys over the course of the year to, I know golf, nothing's a given, even if you are, feeling as good as you can be, but to kind of, I guess, in terms of the range of outcomes for any given tournament or any given weekend, put them more in your favor to say, we should be able to be, even if we're not quite at the absolute top of our game, safe to, advance through to whatever next round that you need to.
Yeah, I think it's just that we've had our lineup has changed a ton, so we really haven't had continuity with the same lineup. I think what's the best way I could put that is we've been blessed, we've been healthy to have the postseason runs that we've had. I would probably say we've played our best golf at that time of year, so we're not really pushing the panic button. I think everybody thought that maybe we would be in a different spot than we were, but the schedule is really hard, and we just haven't quite played good enough. But I don't think there's anything really we need to do or reinvent the wheel or start changing things. We just really need some more reps with them. But it's a double-edged sword because even though we have some youth behind that experience, they're pushing for spots in the lineup. So we're trying to give them as many opportunities as we can to find out who the best 5 is that week. So at some point, we're going to have to kind of find a balance where we're not qualifying as much and getting some reps of practicing a little bit more.
Speaking to the lineup, just I guess a positive from that, what it's been like to be able to see, girls like Mia, Atlanta, obviously, and Sky kind of work their way in and give you some options.
That's it makes us excited for, what we have in store after we lose a lot of this experience. You never know what you're going to get with freshmen and sophomores. So for them to be pushing this bunch is really exciting for us. And that's, not to repeat myself, that's what we're trying to do is give them as many reps as we can, because that's the hard thing. You really can't, it's no different than a lot of these other sports practices. You really can't recreate tournament opportunities. We don't have a lot of just playing a better schedule. We don't get those individual opportunities to take somebody and attach to the team. So it really has to come from at home. So that's what we're trying to do right now, and it's probably taken away from a little bit of our practice time, but it's what we feel like is just for the best for everybody. And it keeps the veteran players sharp too.
You're not home until regionals, so
Yeah.
obviously you're on the road quite a bit. Mm-hmm. How do you work in course familiarity, just being in such different atmospheres each week? And
that's the other thing too. A lot of these venues we're playing for the first time where we played. We've had some familiarity with the schedule before. It's interesting because we do host a home regional, and that's what Brian and I both do. We try and schedule throughout the country because you never know where you're going to really get sent the first week of May. You only get one practice round. So it's what we do. We try and get used to the speed, the firmness. We're going to go to Orlando, and it's going to be cool and rainy. So luckily we've had a little bit of that here to get prepared for, but it's just, I think it makes them sharper. It helps them prepare for professional golf a little bit better. And luckily at a place like Texas A&M, it supports us to be able to travel like that and not have to hop in a van and go week in, week out somewhere.
Coach, working on a story on Zoe for Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
Just going back to your time and bringing her to Houston, what stood out to you as her coming up as a high school athlete and just the impact she's had here?
Josh, it's not to be cliche, but you wish you had 5 of Zoe. I don't know if I've ever seen her have a bad day. Supremely gifted as an athlete, kind of the glue to the team. In some ways, it's almost felt like a little sister to me. Like I can be a little tougher on her than maybe I can. So maybe the others, but man, she impacted Houston in just a short time. Her first year there was COVID year, so she only got a semester, and doesn't have the COVID year that everybody else is getting to spend this year. So her college experience is only really 3.5 years, but comes from great parents. Her mom's an Aggie. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that you see going through this time in this generation is the parenting. We've never had to discipline Zoe. She's never been a problem. She's never late. She works harder than maybe the average person. So I'm going to miss that one in more than one way. when she leaves. But it's crazy to think too of being the first African American player in the program history here. She did the Trailblazer thing the other night, and it just dawned on me that it was like, man, it's interesting that it took that long to have one. An African American young lady come through here. Man, I don't know. I'm not ready for that one to leave yet either. I said this about Haley. I'm not ready for Jenny or Blanca to leave, but that's probably the special relationship that Zoe and I have, is just almost like, and I don't know if she'd say about that to me. She might be more of an antagonizing big brother, but just felt like more, I could coach her a little bit differently than maybe some other ones, and I think that's due to her parenting style.
When you guys were in San Diego, did you get to go on the course for the championship? Or?
We didn't. They changed. When it was at Greyhawk, you could play. You could go there and play really as many times as you wanted to, and they changed the course access policy this year. But it's still, we drove around it just on the surface roads, and it still wasn't open yet. But it looked to be very close to being open, and in topography-wise, it was a little bit different than I thought. Like, it was actually flatter than I thought in between canyons instead of on the side. So I'm excited for that. We always seem to play well when we go out west, but I'm excited for it not to be 100 and whatever it has been the past couple years. It's just a beat down. So, God willing, we'll be there in, third week of May and make a run for another championship.